What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Eclectic Beard. So this go around, we'll be looking at Jim Jefferies Gun Control Part 1. This is something that after the gun control, or the gun laws UK I looked at, which even before then, but especially on that video in the comments, I got the recommendation to check this out. That's exactly what we're going to do this go around. Let's go ahead and get right into it.
Now, before I start saying this, I want to say this, right? I believe in your right as Americans to have guns. I'm not trying to stop you from having guns. All I'm saying is this is my personal belief on the opinion. My opinion on the... it doesn't matter. I don't like guns, right? I'm going to say some things that are just facts, right? In Australia, we had guns, right? Right up until 1996. And in 1996, Australia had the biggest massacre on earth. Still hasn't been beaten. And... Now,
don't say that in front of Americans, because they'll take it as a challenge.
After that, they banned the guns. Now, in the 10 years before Port Arthur, there was 10 massacres. Since the gun ban in 1996, there hasn't been a single massacre since. I don't know how or why this happened. Maybe it was a coincidence, right? Now, please understand that I understand that Australia and America are two vastly different cultures with different people, right? I get it. In Australia, we had the biggest massacre on earth, and the Australian government went, that's it, no more guns. And we all went, yeah, right then, that seems fair enough, really. Now, in America, you have the Sandy Hook massacre where little tiny children died, and your government went, maybe we'll get rid of the big guns? And 50% of you went, fuck you, don't take my guns!
Well, here's the problem here in this country. Well, anytime they talk about doing anything gun control wise, you've got one side that wants smart gun regulation and the other side that wants to put everybody on a register and basically take all the guns away. It's the happy medium we haven't found yet. But he's got a point. That's exactly what the hell happened.
So here's where it gets confusing, right? Now, as I said, I'm all for your Second Amendment rights. I think you should be able to have guns. It's in your Constitution. What I am not for is bullshit arguments and lies. There is one argument and one argument alone for having a gun, and this is the argument. Fuck off. I like guns. It's not the best argument, but it's all you've got. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with saying, I like something, don't take it away from me. But don't give me this other bullshit. The main one is, I need it for protection. I need to protect me. I need to protect my family. Really? Is that why they're called assault rifles? Is it?
Which is just a made-up term. So, anything you hurt people with is an assault weapon. Granted, it's a gun. It can do a lot more harm. I'm not stupid. I get it.
Never heard of these fucking protection rifles you speak of? Protection? What the fuck are you talking about? You have a gun in your house, you're 80% more likely to use that gun on yourself than to shoot someone else. And people...
Here it's called personal choice, or that's a whole different argument. Trust me, he's right. Most of the gun deaths in this country, even more than crime, or I say more than crime, 30% of gun deaths, there we go, I'll put it like that, 30% of gun deaths in this country are suicides. So...
people think, well, that'd never happen to me. You don't know that, because you know what? From time to time, we all get sad. One day you're happy, then you're sad, and then, it was... Protection. I had a break-in in Manchester, England, where I was tied up. I had my head cut. They threatened to rape my girlfriend. They came through the window with a machete and a hammer. And Americans always go, well, imagine if you had a gun. And I'm like, all right. I was naked at the time. I wasn't wearing my holster. I wasn't staring at the window waiting for cunts with machetes to come through.
So, quick story. My wife was robbed at gunpoint whenever she was a manager of a, would say I'm not going to put the company on blast, but fuck it, because they're shitty. Working at the Family Dollar a couple of towns over. The guy took and robbed her at gunpoint, took her to the back room, duct taped her or taped her hands together, took her phone, and he put her in one of the bathrooms in there. Took whatever money he could get out the till and left. So, yeah, she doesn't particularly care for guns, but she's not opposed to people owning them. Like I've said, I think people there needs to be some common sense stuff done. There does. But his framing of this, I love it. I love the way he's framing all this. I really do.
Like, what world do you live in where you're constantly fucking ready? You have guns because you like guns. That's why you go to gun conventions. That's why you read gun magazines. None of you give a shit about home security. None of you go to home security conventions. None of you read Padlock Monthly. None of you have a Facebook picture of you behind a secure door going, fucking yeah. Like, you're going to be ready if someone comes into your house. You have it at all fucking time. By the way, most people who are breaking into your house just want your fucking TV. You think that people are coming to murder your family? How many fucking enemies do you have?
Bro, I was locked up. I was locked up for 6 months. 2 of the kids in there. I say kids. One was almost 30 and one was barely 20 years old. They were looking at life in prison. Why? Because they did a B&E. They did an armed B&E. They did armed robbery. They jacked the person up. They took their goods. They beat the crap out of them with a gun. Like, it's more than sometimes robberies take and go way wrong. So, I understand this is comedy. But there's some things that happen here that maybe don't happen in other places, or not in the way that, just because of our gun culture. And it's sad that it's kind of like that, to be honest with you.
Geez, you think a lot of yourself if you think everyone's coming to murder you. See, if you have it readily available, it becomes unsafe. You have it in your bedside table, one of your kids picks it up, thinks it's a toy, shoots another one of your kids. Happens every fucking day. People go, that would never happen in my...
And those people need to be charged with negligent homicide. Straight up. If you're a parent, you own a gun, and you don't have a gun in a position to where they can't get to it, so it's readily available for them, they shoot themselves or somebody else accidentally, you should be charged with negligent homicide because you've not done your job as a parent. Simple as that. And people go, well, it's about teaching kids safety. And I agree. You got to teach kids. If you're going to take and have your kids around guns, you do have to teach them gun safety and how to properly respect the gun. But that only works to once they hit a certain age. Before you hit 8, 9, 10 years old, and even then, that's young. You need to have the damn thing put the fuck up. Once they hit, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, and even then, the gun safety should be taught for, number one, self-defense purposes, shooting at ranges, things of that fucking nature. Not just laid out where they have free fucking access to it. And he's right, it happens way too often over here in this fucking country. It just really fucking does. But those parents should be charged with negligent homicide. I'm sorry. It is just my personal belief on that.
My house, because I'm a responsible gun owner, I keep my guns locked in a safe. Then there's no fucking protection! Someone comes into the house, you're like, wait there, fuckface. Oh, you've come to the wrong house here, buddy boy. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna fuck you up. Okay. Is it 32 to the left or 32 to the right? Your mother's birthday? Why the fuck would I know your fucking mother's birthday? Maybe if you didn't leave the window open because it's too hot in here, we wouldn't be getting fucking murdered like... I find the NRA to be hard work. But the fact that...
They're a corporation, a lobbyist corporation, needs to be shut the fuck down because they take and quelled the talks on what legitimate, honest, intelligent gun control measures would be.
They always think the answer is more guns. After Sandy Hook happened, the NRA said, and I quote, "None of this would have happened if the teachers had guns." I think they're forgetting what school was like.
Part of it is I think part of their reasoning is back in the day, there were shooting clubs, like honest, like actual gun clubs at the schools. I grew up in a time when most of my classmates, all of us had gun racks for the most part, with a gun, loaded. Some people had loaded guns. Those of us that were smart took and kept ammo in the fucking glove box like was required and stuff, or like was smart. Had guns in the back of our fucking windows. Granted, I went to a private school, but the public schools around here were the same way. And it's a different time now than what it was then. A massively different time. But yeah, no, their logic on it is completely flawed. And there's two different sides to the argument. And that's the thing, because it's just, you can't, I'm sorry, they shouldn't be, the only people in the school that should have a gun, in my opinion, should be the resource officers, which are trained police officers. I think every school should have a resource officer. That way, instead of the kids taking and going to administration, be like, this kid's a little bit, I think something's about to happen in administration, which happens 9 times out of 10 of these fucking situations where they take and disregard another fucking student's concern. They can go to that fucking cop. Be like, hey, look, need to take a look into this guy.
Does anyone remember that casual teacher that used to, whenever she came onto school, that relief teacher came, you and your friends would see her and go, "Oh, we're going to make her cry." And then she'd stand in front of the class with a bit of chalk and her hands would be shaking. And you go,
and that's why teachers don't need guns.
"You're never getting married, are you, miss? Never going to happen for you." Then she'd get back to a 1967 Volkswagen Beetle. She'd be crying over the steering wheel, just, "Why don't they like me? Let's give that kind of gun and see how things work out." And then they go, "Oh, well, answer to that, we'll just add more guns." They go, "We'll put an armed security guard at every school across America." Yeah, that'll work out. The average security guard in America earns $16 an hour. Not a lot of wiggle room to be a fucking hero. Someone comes onto the school and you've got Kevin. Now, I'm sure Kevin's shit hot at Call of Duty, but it might not fucking cut it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I understand that when I'm doing this joke in this room, 50% of you agree with me, 50% of you don't agree with me. And I do respect the people who don't agree with me. Don't think I don't. The 50% that don't agree with me, 20% of those people are smart enough to realise this is a comedy show and it's not to be taken seriously, and they're laughing along because it's just funny jokes, right? And then the next 20% are sort of phased out a little bit and looking around going, "Wonder how they got that chandelier up there." And then there's the last 10%, and they're fucking furious. Right now, in this room, and the people watching at home, 10% of you are fucking seething. Just...
I wonder how many of those were wearing red hats.
And for a couple of reasons. First reason, I'm making good points.
Or they're just, other than that, probably also very closed-minded and set in their ways. Like, that's one of the things that one of the problems with this country, there's no free flow of ideas. Either you think a certain way and that's the way it is in your mind, or you hate a person in the opposite viewpoint instead of taking a listening and at least civilly disagreeing.
Second reason, and this is the big one. I'm foreign.
That'll do it too. How'd they go back where you come from? Like, that's a big refrain. You don't all kind of stupid shit. Like, just, ugh. It's maddening, really.
And that's pissing the fuck out of you right now. And your brain is on a loop, and you can't fucking turn it off. And it's just going around in a circle, and you're just going, if you don't like it, go home. If you don't like it, go home. And my answer to that is no. Came here legally, I pay my taxes, I'll say whatever the fuck I want. Your First Amendment means that I can say the Second Amendment sucks dicks. And unless you're an American Indian, you're a fucking immigrant as well, so fuck off. People get so precious about it. Like, I understand that to Americans your Constitution is very important.
And on the subject of Native Americans, technically they were immigrants because they come over on the land bridge. Scientists have found the DNA of the people who were here 30,000 years before what's considered now Native Americans. So technically everybody that's in the U.S., even Native Americans, are immigrants.
I respect it, but please understand that every country has one as well. It's no more special than any other constitution. We have one in Australia. I don't know what it says. I've never seen it. If there's a problem, we'll check it, but everything's going fine. And don't get me wrong, I get that the Constitution's important to you. I get it, right? I've had people come up to me in my face and scream at me in car parks as I'm leaving the theatre, going, "You cannot change the Second Amendment." And I'm like, yes, you can. It's called an amendment. Like, if you can't change something, it's called an amendment. See, many of you need a thesaurus more than you need a constitution.
Thesaurus, dictionary, encyclopedias, need a whole lot of stuff, apparently.
And if you don't know what a thesaurus is, get a dictionary, work your way forward. Don't think your constitution is set in stone. You've changed things before. You used to have prohibition in there, right? And then people were like, hey, who likes getting fucked up? Yeah, I like getting fucked up too. Let's get that one out.
But see, and he's right, but the thing about it is, one of the reasons why it'd be harder to change the Second Amendment. To change an amendment, it takes 2/3 of the states to agree on the language of it and ratify it. It takes 3/4 of the states to take and make a new amendment. Prohibition, they went from being able to drink to everybody going, because it's the prohibition movement largely started by a lot of not only righteous people, but also women's leagues and stuff like that. And basically they said, shut up, you old fucking crones. We want to drink, damn you. Not only that, the mob got big because of it. And you had moonshiners and all kinds of stuff. So you had people dying from bathtub moonshine being made because they didn't want to go to Popcorn Sutton over in North Carolina and folks like him. But that's how we got NASCAR now. Yay. Anyways, that's a wee bit of a difference. That one's easier to take and get turned. But he's got a perfect fucking point. It's a thing that a lot of people in this country don't quite fucking realize. I mean, even a lot of people in the comments were like, oh, y'all were once able to own slaves, and now, then they take and made an amendment. And that's very true, but unfortunately, that amendment didn't take away the right of slavery, because they'd just transferred the right from people to own slaves to the government to do it through penal labor, basically. And there's people serving 100-year, long sentences that are slaves to basically the government now because they're in the penal labor system, and it's a whole fucking. So yeah, trust me, they can be changed. Sometimes the way that they change it, they don't do away with it. They just transfer the power to the government. Not always a great thing.
We used to have this other thing in America called slavery. And then Lincoln came along and went, that's it, no more slaves. And 50% of you went, fuck you, don't take my slaves. And then the same bullshit arguments came out that you have with guns. Why should I have my slaves taken off me? I'm a responsible slave owner. I am trained in how to use my slaves safely. Just because that guy mistreated his slaves doesn't mean that my rights should be taken away from me.
Bad correlation, unfortunately. Bad correlation. Just saying. And mainly because of the hunters that are here. I get it. I get it because of self-defense, and I will take and put some videos up at the end of this showing examples of actual guns actually being used for self-defense, even by a 15-year-old to take and get rid of 2 intruders. There's somebody town over from me took and actually killed one. Not mistaken, he killed one of the people that broke into his house, and just like 2 or 3 others that about an hour and a half later they were fucking caught. But the amount of space sometimes between the rural areas and the police response is a lot bigger than what it is in the UK. But he's making massively good points in a lot of his way he's framing this. But the slavery and the gun one, horrible fucking correlation in my opinion. I get what he's saying though, because it's been brought up in my comments.
I use my slaves to protect my family. I keep my slaves locked in a safe. That's the thing. Why should I have my guns taken off me? I've done nothing wrong. Look, I agree with you. If you're a responsible gun owner and you don't fuck around with them, then you should be allowed your guns. You really should. But that's not how society works. We have to play to the 1% that are such fuckwits they ruin it for the rest of us. We have to walk as slow as our slowest person to keep society fucking moving, right? I take drugs like a fucking champion, right? We should all be allowed to take fucking drugs, but we can't, can we? Because Sarah took drugs and she stabbed her fucking kids. Thanks, Sarah, you fucked it up for everyone, right? Everyone should be allowed to drive their car as fast as they can do it, right? But we can't because Jonathan got drunk and ran over a family. Thanks, Jonathan! Now I have to drive at 30, you fucking idiot! See, that's the thing. Why should I have my guns taken off me? I'm responsible just because that guy's crazy. Who's to say you're not crazy? That's the thing about crazy people. They don't know they're crazy.
Unfortunately, a lot of times their neighbors don't either. Because how many times has there been people that killed or were serial killers and they interview their neighbors and I seem like the nicest person in the world. Fuck, I was wrong.
That's what makes them crazy. The only thing you know for sure on this earth is I think, therefore I am. You know that you exist. Anything past that is open to interpretation, right? You know you exist and that's it. Right now, I think I'm in Boston talking to 1,200 people. That's what I think I'm doing. But there is a good to fair chance that I'm in a mental home standing in front of a white wall going, I hate guns, I hate guns, I hate guns.
Existential argument there. I love that.
See, one of the better arguments is, well, if you take the guns away, then only the criminals will have guns. Not true. When they banned the guns in Australia, it worked. When they banned them in Britain, it worked. Okay. That Bushmaster gun that the kid was going to use in Sandy Hook cost like $1,000 American. You can buy it in Walmart. It'll be delivered to your house. That's it, man. $1,000. Right? That same gun in Australia on the black market costs $34,000. Now, if you have $34,000, you don't need to be a criminal. You've got $34,000. You're a great little saver. Keep going. So that covers the criminals, but that doesn't cover the people who want to murder your family, that are coming after you and your family. It kind of does. Like, the people who do the massacres, it covers them because, okay, the kid at Colorado who thought he was the Joker, let's say that he had some social issues. The kid at Sandy Hook was Asperger's as fuck. Right? I don't know if you know a lot about the black market, but you can't just rock up at the docks going, guns! Who wants to sell me a gun?
Fair point.
Now, I'm going to wrap this up. We won't talk about it anymore. Now, see, the one thing that I do really agree with the right to bear arms, I really agree with that. The real reason it was written was so that you could form a militia to fight against a tyrannical government. In case the government became a bunch of cunts, you could all get your guns and fight back. And that's why it was written.
Problem is, nobody's done it. After we took and become an independent nation, it hasn't been done other than the Civil War. Really, that's the only time, the Civil War. But got militia groups in this country and stuff like that. You got keyboard warriors and everybody. Oh, it was written for this reason. You're not going to fight. You're reaching down for your fucking Cheeto before you take and actually, or you're blowing the Cheeto dust off of your fucking keyboard. Like, you might have a lot of guns, but you're not going to do it, because otherwise you'd have done it 15 fucking years ago, or 25 fucking years ago. People in this country, they're fucking blind as fuck a lot of times, dude. Like, that's the reason why people go, oh, it's, militia. No, that's the reason why you got that comma, and then the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. That right there, that little bit of last end, that's separate from the whole militia part. Because militia isn't a standing army. And just because a well-regulated, which means working order militia, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, that's totally separate from the militia part. So that's a bit of nuance a lot of people forget, but that's what everybody in this country, tyrannical government, goes to whenever they talk about gun control. Tyrannical government. Second takes and they use historical examples, like guns being taken, and then later on, tyrannical governments coming over and, coming in, and citizens having no way of fighting back. Issue is, everybody here is so fucking content to take and bitch and argue with each other, or take and sit and watch their fucking TV shows and just bitch to each other over the fucking water cooler at work. I'm sorry, if anything was going to be done, it'd have been done already.
Yeah! And that made a hell of a lot of sense when it was just muskets. But you do know the government has drones, right? You get that? You're bringing guns to a drone fight. Like, if we went back to muskets, I'm all for it. Keep the Second Amendment. If we all have muskets, muskets are awesome. Every cunt should be carrying a musket with them at all times. You know what's good about the musket? It gives you a lot of time to calm down.
I like
Someone
that.
calls your wife fat and you're like, fuck you, buddy. Nah, you're not a bad guy. You're all right.
I like the way he framed all this. And it's like I said, and I don't know if I made this clear. I'm not against gun ownership. I don't think the way y'all do it would work over here. Like I said, we have hunters. Y'all talking about, having license. That wouldn't work over here. That wouldn't work over here whatsoever. Because if you got to have a license to hunt a bunch of different animals, I mean, we got rabbit season, squirrel season, we got duck season, hog season. Well, hogs are always in season. They're wild hogs, because a lot of them are derivative of Russian razorbacks, and now they're just a menace. And basically, it's open season because of the amount of damage they do to crops every year. Over $1 billion in South Carolina alone last year. But you've got deer, you've got all these different animals that have the seasons for hunting. You got to have a hunting license. The hunting license covers all of the animals that you want to hunt, as long as you do it within season and you don't exceed the bag limit, because conservation purposes. You can't have too big of a herd of any kind of animal, but you cannot take and can't take them too far down either, because otherwise, not only does that species suffer, but so does the natural ecosystem of which they're involved in. So a license for every animal wouldn't make any sense here. It just wouldn't. I think smart gun laws need to be made. Completely smart. I think gun shows, like, you better take and have applied for a license, or, you better take and have done your what do you call it? The background check. They should have a website where the background check is run for anybody who plans on attending. And if you go there and you don't have that proof, like, hey, I did it online, you can't get in. Private gun owners, private gun sales at these gun shows, stop completely. There's a lot of states now that have it where you can't do private gun sales at gun shows because of transference of ownership can't be fucking made or anything like that. Because there's in the past been people killed that used a gun that was bought at a fucking gun show from a private fucking seller, and the person had felony. Stuff like that shouldn't fucking happen still. If you're a parent, you have a gun, you should have it to where a child cannot get a hold of it. Like, if it's there in plain sight and they can get a hold of it, and they shoot and kill themselves or another child or even another family member, you should go to jail for negligent homicide. That's the way I see things. Completely. I know of two recent examples. There's a church in Texas where a shooter come up outside, was going to take and shoot up the church. Two members outside. He might have actually got inside the church, but two members of the church were armed. They took and actually returned fire, and they held him there until the cops could arrive. There's a 15-year-old. I want to think it's Wisconsin. Might have been Oklahoma. Two men came in. Kid took and shot and killed one of them, if I'm not mistaken, and wounded the other, or something like that. I'm about to take and find those. I'm about to show them to you. Self-defense does happen. They are used for self-defense in this country. It's not a massive narrative. They don't want you to believe that they're just used for killing folks and that's it, and more likely. And it's not the case at all. Now, it's not as big as what proponents of guns would make you think, but it's not as small as what the media wants you to think either. It happens. So, excuse me, not 15, he was 11.
Told him I was going to kill him all that with a gun if he didn't get out of my house.
11-year-old Chris Gaither was home alone Wednesday morning when he heard a noise. Someone had broken into his house. Scared, Chris grabbed a 9mm handgun.
When he was coming downstairs and told me he was going to kill me and F you, all that.
The intruder made it out the front door with a hamper in hand. That's when Chris started firing off bullets. As the intruder was to jump this fence, Chris's 12th and final shot hit the bad guy in the leg.
I shot through a hamper that he was carrying, and it was a full metal jacket bullet. I went straight to the back and hit him in his leg. And he started crying like a little baby.
A baby that learned his lesson.
So there's one example. Well, he got shot. I'm sure he's going to cry like a little baby. Just saying. As far as AR-15s, here we go.
Jeremy King says happened to him inside this house sounds like something out of a movie. Tonight, he tells me he owes his life to his wife.
I've got a fractured eye socket, a fractured sinus cavity, a concussion, 20 stitches and 3 staples in my head. I took a severe beating.
The bruises and swelling on Jeremy King's face tell the story of a
It seems like there's a weird cut. It's because I had to take and turn something down in the background.
man on the receiving end of a brutal attack, but his actual account is far more harrowing than his injuries suggest.
They came in heavily hooded, masked. As soon as they ripped my back door open, they already had a pistol on me and was grabbing my 11-year-old daughter. And when I'm telling them I have nothing for you, they got this backpack and gun in my face saying, give me everything you got. And I'm saying, I have nothing for you, I have nothing for you. It became real violent, real fast.
King says one of the men started pistol whipping him while another kicked him repeatedly in the head. King's wife, who was 8 months pregnant, was in the back bedroom and peeked out to see what was going on. That's when King says one of the masked men shot at her. She retreated, grabbed an AR-15, and returned fire.
When he came towards the back door in her line of sight, she clipped him. He made it from my back door roughly 200 feet out in the front ditch before the AR did its thing.
Deputies who responded to this scene found a man dead in a nearby ditch. The other man ran off after the shot was...
And there's quite a few videos of people that take and actually defend themselves on YouTube. The news stories and stuff like that of people defending themselves. So while people can take and joke about it as far as, you know, counter argument and stuff like that, it being bullshit. No, it's legit. That happens. Unfortunately, because of the gun culture here, it's the reason why you need guns to take and defend yourself. So it's one of those double-edged swords. Like I said, I'm not going to say that there aren't problems. There needs to be intelligent fucking gun control, but the way it's done in other countries, like people suggest it should be done here, just, sorry, it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't. Number one, I know too many good old boys who the minute they go, yeah, we're banning guns, you need to take and hand them in, and all of a sudden, these guns would be lost at the bottom of a fucking lake. Or conveniently stolen. And I'm not lying about that at all. Simple as that. Because rifles and stuff like that, you don't have to take and there's no registry for it. So pistols and stuff like that, you do the background check and everything like that. And you know, well, there's a background check, but there's no registry. So without a registry, you're not going to find it. They'd have to do a registry. Legit, I don't think a registry would take in most people that have guns already. They're not going to take and they're not going to put their guns in the registry. People buying new guns, that'd be a different story. So there's got to be some kind of balance. I'm not saying there doesn't have to be, but I don't think the gun control would work the same way here as it does in the UK or in Australia or in other countries. And I don't think the right to actually own a gun should be taken away. I think there should be some added measures when it goes to somebody trying to get their first gun. And even the whole argument like people have used with, you got to have a license to drive a car, but a car isn't taken. The right to drive a car is not written into the Constitution. The right to bear arms is. Big difference. Now, that being said, they could take and do things that would be within the realm of the law. Policies they could take and write that would be within the realm of the law and not against the Second Amendment. That could be enacted. So something needs to change, yes. Gun ownership needing to stop here? No. I don't agree with that at all. I just don't. Because then we'd have problems in other ways. And it's just, you try to eliminate one thing, other things creep up. And then you're trying to take and regulate that. So it'd be a constant flow of regulations. I'm sorry, I'm for less government, not more of it. In personal, as far as personal liberties are concerned. So his take on it, though, I love the framing of it. I do love the way he took and brought it across because it was done intelligently. A lot of times you don't see intelligent manners and intelligent arguments being brought forth in a lot of manners when it comes from anybody that's a lot of times in the social view, because then they just take and spew viewpoints that just really don't make sense in the way they bring it across. So y'all be good to each other. Love yourselves. Peace.